Okay, we are live. Excited that everybody is here today. Thank you so much. Welcome to Champ Chat. This is the program that allows us the opportunity to have conversations. Having conversations are important. And typically, the conversations are around people and culture. So, we're super excited that you decided to join us today. And I'm so excited that our panel is here with us today. Like I have a message there from Facebook, so we'll just keep right on going here. Um, Audience, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we want to encourage you to let us know you're here. So, in the comment section, go ahead and tell us what your name is, where you're coming in from. And we have an international panel here today. That's super exciting. So, let us know that you're here. And as we go through our program, then we want to encourage you to pop in some questions or some thoughts or some comments based on what we have to talk about today. So we want to thank you so much for being here. My name is Michelle Beauchamp. Our program is called Gratitude Unleashed, Finding Grace, Resilience, and Growth Through Challenges. My company is called the Champ Group, and I partner with companies and their teams to help build their people skills so that their people can thrive and enjoy their workspace. And I am super excited to introduce you to our panel today. And you know what, audience? You had a lot of things you could have done today. You had a lot of things you could have done today, but you chose to be with us. And you're going to be happy because our panel are experts and professionals on helping us have gratitude and experience it throughout whatever changes we have. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you, and then we're going to get started. So, Ashok, I see you first. So, I'm going to ask you if you can introduce yourself. Ashok comes to us from Canada.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me on the show. It's been an honor to get to know you. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Ontario, Canada, but I'm not really a psychiatrist. I spend most of my time using empathy to diagnose and treat my clients. I do individual therapy and couple therapy. I've been doing it for well over 30 years now. I still love my job, so I'm not burnt out yet. And it's a joy to be here and share some of my thoughts and ideas with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes to the invitation, Ashok. Michelle Joy, I see you next.
Thank you so much again for the invitation. I appreciate it. My name is Michelle Joy Del Rey. I'm a business consultant and leadership coach for 30 years. I work with entrepreneurs from all different varieties of kinds of business. And I lead a group in the mornings called Ready, Aim, Thrive 365 that is focused on gratitude.
Nice. See, audience, you're in for a treat. See, we got some good people here. Okay, thank you, Michelle Joy, for saying yes as well. And Deepti.
Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me, Michelle, and thank you to my other panelists. I am a physician, family medicine. I recently gained a certification in menopause and midlife health for women. I'm also a master certified physician coach for physicians and entrepreneurs. I am a mom of 2 teens and 2 dogs, and just a curious observer of life.
Curious observer of life. And I like
Yes.
how you included your dogs in there too, right? Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
That's a big responsibility too. That's a big responsibility too. So, again, the reason why I wanted to talk about this subject today is because the holiday season is upon us. And I think sometimes it's hard to really enjoy them because we're so busy and overwhelmed and stressed out. And that's not how we're supposed to be during the holiday season. And I think that again, we have had another very difficult year, right? And so, even though we intend to enjoy the holidays and intend to feel good and be empathetic and enjoy life and overcome obstacles, we sometimes don't know how to do it. So, we get stuck and we don't enjoy life like we should. So, that is the reason why I wanted to make sure that we did this today. And I see that we've got a couple people who are in here. Um, oh, this is from Avril Gold Coast, Australia. So wow, international for sure. And oh goodness, so Avril, welcome, welcome, thank you. And oh, check that out. There's my son, Evan. But it's great, diverse panel. That's awesome. That's awesome when your kids just appreciate what you do, right? So here's what I want to do. I want to start with this. And Michelle Joy, I'm going to bring this question to you. How do our choices, as simple as getting out of bed, impact our lives? This is so interesting. I was recently at a retreat with my church, and we had some icebreaker questions. And one of the icebreaker questions was, "What's your biggest accomplishment each day?" And one lady said, "Getting out of bed." And
Mhm.
you know what? It made me contemplate and think. So, Michelle Joy, help us start. Let's start with that. How do our choices, as simple as getting out of bed, impact our lives?
Well, it really is a choice. There are a lot of people who have said to me, we have our gratitude call at 6:30 in the morning, and there are a lot of people who said, well, that's too early for me. I can't do that. So they've already made up their mind that they can't do something. And
Mm,
and so the opportunity is to be able to look at it with new eyes, with a new way of addressing something that you may have taken for granted, and to be able to listen to what that internal conversation is that may be running you, and allow yourself to choose at that moment. And that's why we have the gratitude circle, is that each person is heard. And that's really a gift in our world, to not just take it for granted, but to hear someone without interruption, without comment, and to be able to have them express what they're grateful for at every level.
mm.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And Ashok, you're nodding your head. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
I just think listening is the key to
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mhm.
And it's not always easy. And you know what? Just to let you know, we have really got such a great group of people here. Lancaster, UK. Hey there, Kamala. Yay! And we've got Mary. Okay, thank you. So we really do want to thank our audience for joining in. Michelle Joy, thank you for that. It's making a choice, and so it's like we make the decision. If we decide we can't do something, then we're right. But if we
Mm-hmm.
decide that we can do something, then we're right. So it sounds like one of the things that you really help people do, Michelle Joy, is assess why they made the choice that they did. And it sounds like you probably helped them maybe reframe and evaluate the choices so that they can make sure they're making the right choice. Is that true?
Pretty close. I have them assess for themselves, what it is that they are experiencing when they're saying what they say, so that they become aware that they have choice. Otherwise,
Mm.
they're operating on automatic.
Ooh, okay. And it becomes a habit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. And so we want to focus on gratitude.
Mhm.
Cultivate gratitude and
Mhm.
for transformation. And so we don't want to just cultivate gratitude today and next week. We want it to be consistent always for transformation. So Dr. Deepti, I would love it if you walk us through how do we do that?
Absolutely happy to do so. So I will just share with you. Many years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at this concept. Like,
Oh,
are you kidding me? Who has time for that? But I will tell you
true
that
confessions.
true confessions. Um, Gratitude has been a transformational wellness tool in my life. And it came in a time where everything was looking great on paper. I had the career and I had my two amazing children. I finally was in a house and, all the little life prescription boxes were checked, but
Mhm.
something wasn't right. And I just didn't feel fulfilled. And I started asking myself, wow, there's people just suffering in the world. There's so much devastation. What is wrong with me? Like something's missing. And there was a little incident that I had with my daughter that I can share later on in the show if we have time that kind of shook me awake.
Mhm.
And I would love to say I flipped the switch that day and everything changed. Of course it didn't. But there was a little whispering, there was a seeking. And I saw a clip of Oprah and she said keeping a gratitude journal had changed her life. And I thought, you know what, that's easy. So I picked up a pen and a book and I just started every day. And that practice really led to some major self-awareness. I figured out what was working for me. And by figuring out what works for you each day, you become very aware of what does not work for you.
Mm,
And our brains are amazing. You know, our brains love patterns. And so when you start training your brain to seek out 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for every day, it's on it. And so it's a way of actually of neuroplasticity, rewiring yourself. And that's why gratitude is kind of an amazing tool to use to build resilience. It can help with trauma. There's so many health benefits, and I'm not going to get into all that in the interest of time. But what it really does is it can shift your mindset
mm,
within seconds. It can climb you out of a lack base, nothing works out for me, you know, the cup's half empty, to an abundance. What are my solutions kind of mindset? You
yeah.
know, it can shift you from kind of looking at the problem to let me get creative. And it's a superpower that's in our pocket. It's always available. So I
Mm,
always tell people, you know, I always distinguish between toxic positivity and gratitude, which we see tons of. Turn that smile upside down, shake it off, things like that. I never ever want anyone to think that when I talk about gratitude, it's about only focusing on the positive. It's about feeling your feelings, feeling angry, upset,
mm,
disappointed,
mm-hmm,
staying in those feelings. And then once you process them, pausing and seeing if you can't possibly find a little silver lining, if you can't possibly enter that space. So like I said, it's a great mindset shifting tool.
yeah.
And you know, some quick ways that I recommend to do it are just jotting it down in a journal. That's kind of a multisensory approach. Sharing it at breakfast, you know, or at dinner with your family, everyone sharing 3 things
Mm-hmm,
can
mm-hmm,
really make a difference. And at work, having a gratitude wall where maybe, you know, once a week, everyone makes sure to jot down a little note to someone and pin it on the wall. There's just something about taking the time to, you know, steep in that feeling that can really be so beneficial to you health wise, as well as the recipient.
yeah. I love that. You said a lot. Wow. You know, you said a lot. And just to kind of sum it up, it sounds like what we learned from Oprah
So
was
much.
keeping a gratitude journal, right?
Yes,
And I really appreciate that you said you're not talking about just the positive things. Like you have some things that's what we're talking about is resilience and through challenges, how do we remain grateful? So that's what you said. It's not just about keeping a record of the things that went well, but it's the things that didn't because we learn lessons from that, right? Yeah.
absolutely.
And you know what, really quick too. Sometimes people will say, Deep, I bet you've heard this. I don't have time. I don't have time to keep a gratitude
Of
journal.
course.
So tell us, how much time does it really take? What do you think?
It literally can take you 3 to 5 minutes. You could set a timer. I have told patients and coaching clients, I want you to give me 5 minutes.
There you go.
In the 24 hours, you've got 5 minutes.
And then it's really giving yourself a gift, isn't it? If we give ourselves
Yes,
5 minutes out of 24 hours, surely we can do that. So thank you for those. Thank you for those tips. And audience, I want to
absolutely.
encourage you to go ahead and chime in. So glad you came. And we see that we have somebody from Southern California and then Denise Hendon. So thank you all for coming today. And so what we want to do now and encourage you, audience, to chime in. So I want to ask you, Michelle Joy, I'm going to come back to you. Because so what we're talking about is resilience. So Deepti just said, look, you know what? We keep our record and gratitude journal. We keep track of it. Sometimes we're disappointed. How do we bounce back? I like to call it the bounce back ability, the resilience. How do we do that? Because we have disappointments with ourselves, with our business, with our jobs, with lots of different things. So what kind of tips do you have, Michelle Joy, that will help us conquer the obstacles?
Well, life happens. And so, 3 or 4 years ago, I had a mini stroke. And I woke up in the middle of the night and felt a pop in my brain. I knew exactly what had happened, but I didn't get up. There was nothing to do right then. It wasn't until morning I looked in the mirror and half of my face was hanging down. And it was at that moment I had the quiet within me to be able to make a very sound and clear decision about how I was going to go about having treatment. I chose to go to my nutritionist specialist and build my body back up. And I chose to go to an acupuncturist that I trust. And she did not only acupuncture, but light therapy as well. And within 3 months, my face was returned to normal, and I had access to being able to make sound, clear decisions and communicate effectively. And so
That is resilience.
that is the kind of access that is available when you're not worried about all the outside circumstances, when you can be fully present in this moment and be grateful for what is and not have to make something else up to try to get the effect that you need or want. And so, I'm really grateful for having learned that. I'm grateful for having gone through the experience. And at the same time, I know that there are other choices that people make. So it's not making their choice wrong, but it's really about an opportunity to have clarity in the moment to make a choice and decision for yourself.
And so good for you, thank goodness. You know that you're, I mean, in a short amount of time, wow, you were back to yourself.
Right.
So you had that ability. So I think I would love it, and I think our audience would love it. Is do you have a couple of techniques? They're like, how do people do that? Like you knew what to do. What can people do so that they can not get stuck in the moment, but
Hmm.
to make the right choices
Hmm.
to overcome the obstacles that are presented?
Well, the biggest one is one that I began when I was a teenager of sinking into menstrual cramps, and being able to be with it rather than struggle against it and be upset by it. And so I learned how to be with my body in a different way than otherwise I would have. Being able to accept that that's how it is right now and be able to relax every part of my body gives me access to making choice and clear decisions. And I think
Mm,
that that's the biggest thing that people can take away from this and
mhm.
be able to implement into their lives immediately.
Mm, wow.
Interesting. Okay, so accept it. Be in the moment and
Hmm.
accept it.
It's
Um,
what is. That's what is. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to be. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong that from the past that you have to make up for. It's just that's what is right now.
okay.
Wow.
Thank you. That's powerful. And Denise, thank you. She says Dr. Phil Stoltz advocates for a similar powerful gratitude practice, stretching to find 5 different things to be grateful for every day, and really stretching in those things. Yeah, what those things are. Denise says she's learned a lot about empathy through that approach. Thank you, Denise, for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah. So sometimes we try and fight things too much.
Mm,
Mhm.
It sounds
it's
like we fight,
true.
and I think that would be true about me. So instead of fighting things, we can accept them. So I love that. And Denise said it's Phil Stutz, Stutz. Thank you for that resource.
I was
Um,
just going to chime in, when you were mentioning and sharing, what a powerful share, by the way, Michelle, and I'm so glad you're on the other side.
Thank
mhm,
you.
Yes, but when you talked about acceptance of the present set of circumstances, of the isness of the moment that you're in, it really
Mhm.
made me think about the word surrender, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of the times we think, well, what does that mean? Just lay down and take it, and
right.
don't just let life happen to you. It's a little bit different than that. It's just
Mhm.
accepting the present moment and being with it, like you said, and then giving yourself that space to now what, what's my role in it, how
Mhm.
am I the co-creator in this situation,
That's a
what
good.
can I do,
Yeah.
right? It kind of shifts from all the, oh my goodness, what are we going to do, and I don't like this, to it is what it is, now what.
Mhm.
Hmm. I like that.
Exactly.
Surrender
Yeah,
doesn't mean
surrender.
weakness. Yeah,
Right.
vulnerable. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So Ashok, I'm going to ask you now to chime in here. Forgiveness. So we're talking about gratitude, resilience, grace. So let's talk about forgiveness in a couple of ways.
And
One is for ourselves. And I find sometimes my husband will be like, you know what, Michelle, you're hard on yourself. And he's right, right? So forgiveness of ourselves and also forgiveness of others so that we can remain grateful and enjoy every day and the holidays and every day. So what can you tell us about that?
well, to start, thank you, Michelle Joy, for sharing your vitality with us, and I'm so relieved that you're well. But I think Before we talk about forgiveness, we have to talk about disappointment and anger.
Okay.
Mm.
Forgiveness is the latter part of that
Right.
story.
Yeah.
When we have disappointment, our reaction can be frustration or anger. And if you think about it, forgiveness is actually the antidote to anger. And when people are angry, either with somebody else or with themselves, if they can find that forgiveness for that other person, but more especially for themselves, they're not disappointed or angry with themselves. That
Mm,
opens up a whole wide space to be able to explore with serenity. So you can surrender to that moment as well. And that's what I do with my practice and with the people I work with who come to me in sometimes immense, impossible pain. And think, oh my gosh, how am I going to help this person? And that the chance to create self forgiveness, so they're not burning up with that anger inside of them, and they can create that serenity inside. That's when the healing starts.
mm,
Mm.
that's powerful. And it's true.
Yes.
So thank you for pointing that out. First comes the anger, and then the forgiveness. Yeah. So thanks for pointing because there's a,
Mhm.
it's a process, right? It's a process.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's what Barbara Ann had to say. Thank you, Barbara Ann. She said, "I believe forgiveness benefits us even more than the person we're forgiving." Right. Especially when they don't ask for it. Oh, amen. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Ashok held up his love sign. Don't you love it? I love it. Yeah. Look at that. I love that. So thank you, Barbara Ann. So true. So true. I love the engagement that we're getting from our audience too. Thank you all so much for being here and for chiming in. So Ashok, I'm gonna stay with you here because these subjects go together. And then I want to have Michelle Joy and Deep chime in too. So activating empathy through tough challenges in people. Now you are the empathy expert. Ashok, and you have, maybe you don't want to call yourself an expert, but you got a lot of experience. So let's talk about it this way too. So in the United States, Thanksgiving's next week, and then several different holidays. We've got dinners to spend with people, parties to go to, and lots of socializing that we have going on. And we want to make sure that it's enjoyable, right? And so, how can we activate empathy? Somebody says something that you don't agree with. You don't want it to turn into an argument. You want it to be, you want to understand people where they come from and appreciate them for what their thinking is, right? So, how can we give us some steps? How can we activate empathy with people who are tough in situations that are tough?
Well, thank you for that question. And I certainly encounter that every single time I sit in front of a person who's in pain. I think the hard thing to understand about empathy for most people is you have to get yourself off the screen. If you're reacting to somebody, your reaction is now contaminating your empathic field.
Mm,
Empathy is trying to appreciate the perspective of somebody else from their point of view, not you. If you're in their shoes, that's a you in their shoes, it's them in their shoes. And when I'm having an interaction, even if it's an altercation with somebody, the next question is, are you okay? What's going on with you? Can you tell me how you're thinking or you're feeling? Because in most instances, something's going on with them that they're saying what they're saying or reacting the way they are that has a much better explanation than my immediate reaction is, oh, what's wrong with them and why are they being that way with me?
yeah,
When I get my own reaction out of the way, I have that wide open field to basically get where they're at, and that works most, not all, but most of the time.
Mhm.
Mm.
so how do people get started on that?
Well, you get started by asking. So, how are you? What's going on with you? That's the question, and then you need to, and then use your ears to listen. Listening
Mm.
is the most empathic tool that we have. You
Mhm.
don't just listen with your ears; you listen with your eyes, you listen with your heart and your
Yeah.
soul. And when you listen to the whole person, and when someone feels listened to, that
Hmm.
immediately gets them to feel more
Mhm.
serene and calm. And that's powerful.
Yeah. And what I hear you saying too is what we're doing is we're listening to understand them,
Mhm.
what's in their heart, what's on their mind, rather than just listening to respond. And you said we have two ears, one mouth, right? So what were you gonna say?
Well, it's important when someone's telling you something, you can relate to what they're saying. That's sympathy. Oh, yeah, that same thing happened to me last week. But when you try to find out well, how that experience felt to them, like
Mm,
if we asked Michelle Joy what her stroke felt like to her, my dad had a stroke. I would in no way know what her stroke felt like to her. I
Mhm.
could relate a story, But by just telling her, oh, this is what happened to me, that's actually not empathizing, that's potentially sympathizing, but actually missing out on the breadth of her story.
Mm, that's a
Mm.
really good distinction. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes it gets confusing, sympathy versus empathy. And there, so let me just ask you this really quick: when is the time for sympathy versus empathy?
I think the purpose of sympathy is simpatico, to share emotions together,
Okay.
tears and laughter. And so you look around in a comedy club, people are laughing. You look around at a wedding or a funeral, and people are crying. It's a powerful emotion to connect people.
Mm.
Empathy, if you don't feel that people empathize with you, you can actually feel isolated and alienated. And that's the basis of PTSD
Mm.
and burnout.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah. See, audience, we've got some good information here, don't we? Thank you
Yeah.
for that. And Denise said, I would add listening without judgment. Oh, yeah. Oh, right, Denise. Exactly. We're quick to judge and slow to listen. And then Mary said, um, the tension between fear and acceptance releases when there is an acceptance offering. Oh,
Mm.
Mary, well said. I love that love sign there, Mary and Denise. Thank you for that. Yeah. So we have to be mindful to take the time to listen. And then let's see, Barbara Ann. Everyone experiences everything through their unique lens.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting. I've worked to eliminate I understand from my responses.
Oh.
Ooh, Barbara Ann. You know what? Yeah. So
Yes.
let's talk. We have just a couple more minutes. I have one more thing I want to talk about. Ashok, can you address that? Because honestly, Barbara, and I'm glad to see you say that. Because sometimes I notice it when I'm on the phone with the customer service person, let's say, and they'll say, I understand. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. So, so I find it to be kind of annoying sometimes because you don't. So, Ashok,
Mhm.
give us your thoughts. What made you hold that love sign up just then?
I reflect back what people tell me and
Mhm.
ask them, what more can you describe about that? What am I missing? Can you tell me more about that? And I think if you close it off by saying, oh, I get it now, you're actually stopping the conversation. If you say, I think I get it, and reflect and say, what more can I learn from that? That opens up the person to more. That always is a much better approach for me.
I love it. Yeah. And so
Mhm.
what we're saying too is, you know what? We need to be willing to invest time with people, right? The
Mhm.
one problem is that we're in a hurry and we hurry up, right? So what we can all do too, I think, is invest time with each other so that we can get that bond, understand each other, and give the love and the gratitude. The last topic that I want to cover today, wow, this time went fast because I knew it would have so much value. So you know what? Practices to alleviate holiday stress, to focus on gratitude. Because seriously, we already have the things that we do all the time, which is a lot. On top of that, now decorate, bake, cook, go to parties, spot shop. I mean, there's a lot. So it's too stressful. So Deepti, I would love for you to help us learn how to feel the joy that we should feel during the holidays and alleviate the stress.
Absolutely. I'll try to make this quick because I know we are short on time. Well, first of all, Ashok, I mean, those were some brilliant pearls, and our audience is so wise. I loved all of the audience's
Yeah.
insights. So, my top few tips. So, the first tip is don't sacrifice your self care, right? So, you got to keep moving, you've got to keep hydrating, right? You've got to keep minding your nutrition. So, we can get thrown off. You've got to protect your sleep. That's really important. So don't sacrifice those. I know it seems like there's so much on the calendar, but try, even if you have to truncate how long you spend on each, just do one of them each day. Like today, you're going to drink all the water you're supposed to. Great. Just pick something every day and don't sacrifice. And the second one would be boundaries. Be very mindful of your boundaries. Sometimes saying no is a complete sentence that doesn't require explanation. And many a time saying no is actually saying yes to yourself. Your body keeps score, every cell of yours keeps score. So be really choosy about who you spend time with and what you spend time doing. Your energy is sacred.
Mm,
So that's really important. And then the third one I would say is inject yourself with gratitude. So if you know you are going to have this event with some people that trigger you, or just people that you can't get out of it, you can't say no, you know you have to see them. Maybe it's a work thing, maybe it's a family thing, and you just know every year you dread it and it's coming. inject yourself with a vaccination of gratitude. That's what I tell people. And so give yourself a few minutes to sit. What can you be grateful for today?
Mm,
Now let's visualize the circumstance. That person is going to be there. Okay, how can I be an observer? How can I not react to the person in the situation? How can I operate from my highest self? How
mm,
can I flip the script and change the lens that I'm going to view the entire interaction from a lens of gratitude? Maybe this person's a teacher in your life, right? As you said earlier in the conversation, Michelle, it's the difficulties and challenges that we really learn from. So maybe this person is here to teach you something. What is that?
yeah.
And a couple quick responses that I always say, because sometimes people are like, well, what will I say if they say that mean thing again and they jab me with something? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Works so well when you tell them, I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time? I didn't hear you. That
Mm,
works really well
I'm sorry.
because
Can you repeat that?
yes, if
Okay.
I had an example with a patient where there is this person in their life that every time at these events criticize what she's wearing. Doesn't matter. And so she's always really tense. So I told her, say it out loud. Could you please repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Or another response
That's
is,
brilliant.
thank you so much. Happy holidays to you. They
Okay.
said you had an ugly shirt. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
That's
Don't
awesome.
let your energy drop. It takes a lot sometimes to keep ourselves, in kind of, what we hope is to operate from a high vibe energy, right? From our highest balanced selves. We can't always be there, but don't let people pull you down, right?
Mm,
And the other one is, that just doesn't work for me.
mm.
Mhm.
Being honest, totally vulnerable.
Just being honest, because your your inner self will be grateful that you said that. Your
Right.
whole body feels everything you say and think. That mind and body connection is so strong, and I know all of us here on this panel, and I think the audience is very keenly aware of that. And just remember, you deserve to enjoy the holidays, like you said, Michelle. Like, these are, they're not always joyous. They can be triggersome. They can
Right.
bring up some negative memories, but you owe yourself peace.
Absolutely. Amen to that. And those were some great tips, by the way. I was thinking too, if we're doing a gratitude journal every day, then it's going to be easier too, right? By doing that gratitude
Yes,
journal every day.
you can just shift into that mode a
It's
lot easier. It's like a
easier.
muscle. Hmm.
I love it. Yeah. So, wow, we're out of time. In fact, we're a little bit over time. But here's what Denise said. So much wisdom here today. Thank you so much for your insights. And so, what I want to do is I want to thank our audience so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom, and our panel. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I knew you all would be great, and you brought it. And you know what, audience, what we're pretty sure there's that love sign is that you might have heard something said today. So what we want you to do is take a quick snapshot of this. We would love for you to get in touch with us. Get in touch with Asha. Get in touch with Michelle Joy. Get in touch with Deepti, and get in touch with me. We would love it if you stay connected with us. And so thank you so much for joining us today. And we wish everyone a lovely and grateful, full of gratitude holiday season. And we have lots of people. Evan said great panel, feeling very holidayish already. Yay, Evan. Yay, yay. I'm excited. I'll see him next week. Kristen said thank you. So y'all, thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and end the show. But again, we just want to thank everybody and two of the panelists. Y'all were fantastic and thank you. And Michelle MM behind the scenes, thank you too.
Thank you so much, everyone.